I can help you make sales easy because many times we're coming at it with either a toolbox we don't know how to use, or we don't even have any tools. And so we're winging it, right? We're just talking out the side of our neck. And that's when we're kind of like, I don't have the language. I just need to close this sale. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing here. And it comes across as that icky weird. You feel weird, they feel weird. And at the end of the day, nobody is happy.
Welcome to the Millionaire Maker Show, a podcast helping entrepreneurs scale their businesses online to create more time, more money, more freedom, and more impact. Now, with over 20 years of business building, coaching, and consulting experience, here's your host, author, speaker, and creator of the Millionaire Maker Funnel, Lindsey Anderson.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Millionaire Maker Show. I am so excited for today's guest, and we're talking about one of my favorite topics, and that is sales. I'm so excited to bring my expert guest on, Miss Tish Times. Welcome to the show. So excited that you're here.
I am so excited to be here. I can't wait to dive in with you.
Tish, what is it that you do? What's your specialty?
Yeah, I love to help high-performing rock star female entrepreneurs who are really great at what they do, but they still struggle a little bit with the sales conversation, right? They still fumble a little bit. And I help them to have the language, the tools, all of the things that they need in order to perform at a very high level, to have better sales conversion and to increase their revenue. So I love when I get to do it so much.
Now, did you use the term self-conversion? Did I hear that right, Tish?
I help them to understand their part in the sales conversion process. Because, and I know we'll talk about it, is that the biggest barrier to sales, in all honesty, is generally the person making the sale. It's normally the way that we think about ourselves, our own, the way we view our value and so on and so forth. So that's why we play a huge role in the height of our conversion, the consistency of our conversion. So it really is important for us to understand.
Amen. Amen to that. What is it? When did you decide, like in your life, when were you like, nope, sales is for me. This is what I'm doing. This is what I'm called to do. Was there a particular situation in your life where that happened?
So no, I never decided. I just ended up here. And to be honest with you, Lindsey, I was completely tricked. I was bamboozled. I was doing my job. I worked in staffing before I came into the world of traditional real sales. I worked in a staffing agency and I was a staffing coordinator in my little private cubicle helping people get jobs. And I was happy as a lark. And I had a sales manager or a manager that just saw something in me and drew me into it little by little. And again, she tricked me into doing more and more sales. I got really good at it. And then I just loved helping people. I just loved being able to serve. And this is how I landed in the world of sales. I never made a decision to do it.
Would you say that, were you like, how did you feel about sales? You said bamboozled. So did you have some negative feelings
Oh,
towards
God,
sales
yeah.
before he gently pulled you in?
For sure. Number one, I was scared to death. I was absolutely afraid of my income being reliant on my ability to close sales. And we had a full on sales department and I would hear their conversations and I was like, oh no, I don't want any part of that. So I had that viewpoint. I had the negative speech in my head about car salesmen, all the stuff that we hear growing up. And so I just figured sales was not for me. It wasn't something I wanted my income to be tied to. And I didn't want to be viewed as, in my mind, a salesperson because I didn't have a great connotation at that point.
I think most people will share that original connotation. What is your take on salespeople now and the sales skill as a whole? What is it now? Fast forward.
Number one, I love it because again, I really do. And it seems a little bit one of those kind of woo-woo things. I really believe that sales is service. I love being able to help people get what they ultimately desire in the first place. I just happen to be the person who has a solution that they need. So I want to be able to help them to get there. I believe that the world does not move unless sales are made. So I absolutely believe that salespeople are the most amazing people in the world. And if they do it well and they have heart for people, there's no connotation. There's none of that negativity. It's all, I literally say often, salesy is a mindset. It's something that we've contrived in our own head. And if we'll release that and just go sell, go serve somebody, then you'll love the work that you do in the industry of sales.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And I think that's why we get along so well because we totally agree about sales. I would even go as far to say that sales is one of the best skills you can ever pick up for personal issues, personal, family, health, relationships, anything you're doing, because it's really mostly about like communication. How can I clearly communicate this to
For sure. I think I tell people all the time, if you have kids, if you have a husband, if you have parents, you are in sales because at some point you're articulating what you want. You're negotiating for your position, right? You're helping them to see your point of view. You're helping them to see that you can possibly solve something for them. And so we're all in sales, even if we don't call it that. And if we'll just shift our mindset around it, it just changes the game for everybody. I think it really does.
Yeah. Do you mind expounding on something that you said, which was, I believe that sales is a service. This might be a little woo woo. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, because I just come from a different mindset, Lindsay. I don't come from that old school. I've been doing sales for a long time. So I've been through all I can name them, all of the traditional sales trainers, right? The companies that many of us have gone through over the course of our careers that kind of teach you it's all about the numbers and it's all about all these things. And it's not so much about service. So when we say that, especially in the presence of people who had that old school mindset, it feels woo to them. Oh no, if you make enough calls, you're going to get enough sales. And I, on some level, that's true. But I do believe that it is about service, meaning I see the person's heart. I see their ultimate desire. If I can help them to get there, so much so to where even if I'm not the person who can deliver that for them, and I can help connect them with someone like you or someone else who's just has a better maybe product or service that's a better fit for them, I'm going to do that because I am in it for the service. I am in it for making sure that they get what they want. And not all people believe that. They feel like it's a little bit almost girly, if you will. And I hate when people say that, but I've heard it before. And I just believe we can be service people and be in sales.
Yeah, my whole thing is that too. I totally believe sales as a service. If I look back at all of the consultants and people that have sold me things in the past, they are the reason why I am where I am. And they truly were doing a service like that. And I like how you add, even I think we get into these sales calls and we think, I just need the money right now. And it doesn't like, and they think that and they know that. And it gets weird. But if you're just mostly showing up to be like, hey, I need to get your problems here to see if I can even help you. If not, I am an expert. I can show you what is next. And if you go in with a helping attitude, that it's everything.
Absolutely is. And I've been on the other side of that, Lindsay. I've been that desperate salesperson who needed to make their numbers or needed to, if I don't make this sale, we're not eating this month. I've been there and I know what that feels like. It's such a place of scarcity to come from. And I now believe, and I now know for certain that people can sense that desperation, and it's so off-putting, right? It makes them feel like just another number or just another credit card that you want to swipe so that you can get your own needs met. And coming on the other side of that, again, coming away from that old school kind of mentality, it's just shifted everything for me. And sometimes I have to take a moment and take a breath. Even if I am in that place of I really need to close this still, I have to stop and say, okay, I'm here for them. I am here for them. I am not only here for me, I'm here for them. And I can go into it with that service thought process that we're talking about. Otherwise, it comes across as that slimy. All the other negative things that we talk about, that's when that comes across. When we don't go into a sales conversation with the desire to help someone, it's really easy for those other things to show up.
And they can tell. Energetically, you're doing micro actions. You can't even cover this up with the right word.
Yes. So true. And that's the thing. It's my entire self shows up with that kind of energy and other people can pick up on it. Whereas when you come in and it's okay, how can we solve this problem together? Let's talk about what you really need. It's just a very different conversation and it feels much different to the person on the receiving end.
It sure does. Okay. Give us your top tips, like maybe your top 3 tips. If I hate sales, I don't want to do sales, sales is icky. 2, how can we start going towards the sales as a service? What are your tips here, Tish?
Yeah, I would dare say number one, recognize that's where you're coming from. Recognize that you're coming from that place of because it's not even about
Admit it. Admit it. It's sorry.
right like any other 12-step program. I understand that's the first part of the issue, But I don't even think people realize, Lindsay, that it's a scarcity mentality. And so when they realize that there's a deeper issue that's causing that, we don't just show up to a conversation as I'm going to rake this person over the coals and I'm going to get everything I can from them. There's something deeper that's driving that issue in the first place. So we're able to recognize that and face that. That'll be the first part of the mountain we're trying to climb
And,
here.
like, and the thing about sales, and correct me if this your experience is different, but like it ties in with our money issues from when we were younger. Like we're like sales is a Pandora's box of personal development, right?
And that's the thing. It makes you come face to face with it if you're willing.
If you're will.
And that's the thing, because otherwise you just stuff it back down and you're just like, I'm getting this next sale. You know what? Then who's next? And that's what kind of shows up for us.
Well,
That,
you will hate getting on calls.
yeah,
If you embrace what we're saying, you can get to a place where you love sales.
love it. Girl,
But that's it's my favorite thing.
it's my tagline. I love helping people fall in love with sales because it just shifts the entire mindset around it. It shifts our heart set and it helps us to develop our skill set because when I love it, I'm going to go and learn more about it. I'm going to figure out how to have different approaches to the people that I'm really working with. It shifts everything. I think the second thing is in order for us to get out of that, I hate sales, it's have the tools required to make it easy. Well, that's the thing. The second thing I love is that I can help you make sales easy because many times we're coming at it with either a toolbox we don't know how to use or we don't even have any tools. And so we're winging it, right? We're just talking out the side of our neck. And that's when we're kind of like, I don't have the language. I just need to close this sale. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing here. And it comes across as that icky weird. But you feel weird, they feel weird, and at the end of the day, nobody's happy. So it's like having the tools both from again, a skill set. I've learned the things I need to know. I understand the buyer. I've done the research to know who my ideal client is. I know how to connect with them, not only how to talk at them, but how to connect with them. And I know at the end of the day what they probably ultimately desire, and I can help meet them there, right? That's the first part of the tool set. But the second part is literally having the things necessary, you don't have to have the best CRM in the whole world, but having some of those tools are helpful, especially if you're not a one call close person. You need to know, what did you discuss with them previously? What did they need from you? How can I best serve them? And having a really powerful tool like a CRM or some type of technical tool can help you with some of those things as well. So those things coming together, and that's like just a little bit, obviously, but those things coming together make a big difference. And then at the end of the day, really you don't have to be the most articulate person, but you do have to have some language, right? You have to be able to connect with someone, to be able to communicate with them on a level that makes them feel seen, makes them feel understood. And then at the end of the day, you are able to invite them. I love to say, I'd love to invite you to enroll, not I want to close you. It's like having the language to make someone want to say yes makes a big difference because, as you know very well, you've seen people over the course of the years have a conversation and blow it. And then you can have that same conversation with that same person, basically selling the same thing. And they're so willing to say yes, they can't wait for you to get to that. They're just like, yes, I'm up. So having that, not only the language, like the words, but the ability to communicate it in a way that makes that person feel like, yes, please help me. Yes, please solve my problem.
I love that. I love that. Those are three really fantastic tips. I want your input on this, which is you said, unless you're a one call close kind of person. Now, the way that I always tell everybody about sales is not about this conversation. It's about everything that happened in the past and everything that's going to happen in the future. And people really need to start looking at sales more as a long-term game, a long game, not a short game. Does your methodology sell a one call close? Does that happen a lot?
It's
Really?
It doesn't happen a lot, but it can. But you're right, though. It's not truly a one call close.
You're like, I'm just saying they heard of you, right? Like they're on social or you DM them or whatever.
Yeah, there's nurturing. Even if I've not had an actual connection or conversation with you, I'm nurturing you from the moment we connect. But like whether it's the way that I'm putting things on social, whether it's in an audience when I'm speaking. So I'm always going to be seeding that conversation. So by the time we have the call, it might feel like a one call close, but it's been a journey. It has absolutely been a journey for sure.
Long game.
Yeah,
Long.
long game, absolutely. And interestingly, you said 3, but I will add
Please
to this.
bring
Your
it.
follow-up game has to be on point, because if you are not great at follow-up, all of the stuff that you've done previously, it doesn't serve you at all if you're not able to follow up in a way, again, that makes someone know that they're cared for. I promise you, Lindsay, and I know you've experienced this as well, is that many of the people that I get on the call and they're like ready to enroll, they're like, can you show me how you do that follow-up? Can you teach me? Almost like, teach me your magic, because they've been nurtured along the way in such a way to make them feel like this is different. This is an experience. This isn't someone, quote unquote, trying to close me. This is someone who understands the cycle, or not the cycle, the experience that a client goes through from the moment they engage you, whether they find you on social, come into a conference room where you're speaking, however they locate you, someone understands that entire process, and follow-up is a huge part of that.
What's your what's a good follow-up situation? What is that first email? You're not supposed to say, just checking it, right?
Oh,
But
please don't do this. Please don't say checking in, circling back, all the things that, that we say that like,
what?
right, we've all been guilty of it, but see, again, I always think, and I wrote a book called Networking is Not a One-Night Stand. And the reason I wrote that book is to make that parallel between dating relationship or a courting relationship and a business sales cycle. Because again, if I walked up to someone and, hey, I saw you last week, let's go hang out now, they're back up a little bit. You're moving a little too quickly, right? Whereas when we're having a sales conversation, we do that. Hey, I'm just following up. Are you ready? Instead of, hey, what else do you like to do? How else can I possibly, what other events do you like to go to? Something that's more relationship building and not necessarily quote unquote sales closing. Although that's what's happening in the background, person needs to feel as though they're being taken on a journey, not being a proposition for one night.
I love that. I love that. So can you outline what a proper follow what is proper follow-up? Give me a system here. Some
So,
sort of system.
look, I know that I gave you something already, but if your audience wants it, I'm happy to give you my follow-up formula. It's called a flawless follow-up formula. It's a
Yes.
download. It's super easy for people to be able to follow. We go through a 12-week process so that people know what to do day one. And as you probably well know, is that you want to make sure you make that connection within the first 48 hours. If you wait longer than that, you probably, at the very least, cause that relationship to go a lot cooler or colder than you would if you reach out to them while that interaction is still hot. The next thing is, I know this is a little different than most people. I'll say your follow-up doesn't actually begin until you have a voice connection. And so the email was fantastic. Send the email, absolutely. But until I have a voice connection with someone or a face-to-face connection with them, I feel like that's when my follow-up actually begins, because now they're engaged. Otherwise, we're doing a lot of output and not necessarily having any engagement. So my goal is to get them on a phone call, on a Zoom call, in a coffee shop somewhere to actually reconnect with them. Not to say that it can't continue to move forward without that, but that's just the endeavor for me. Right.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, intimacy is what's gonna sell. And so intimacy is this voice to voice, this person to person contact.
even if it's DMing, if they're responding to me, we have connection. I just want them to talk back to me, basically.
Yeah. Speaking of social media, in part of your sales process, do you use social media and DMs and all of that? Can you give us some tips around that?
Absolutely. Number one, do something different. And I'm literally like, we're creating some things right now because, as you probably know, LinkedIn, for instance, is the noisiest place on earth right now. That most people don't even want to check their messages because it's flooded with things that are not value based whatsoever, that are just sales pitches, right? And so my goal is for our team to make sure that we're doing something that not only adds value, because it depends on the person's definition of what value is, but it's really relationship building. And so if I can get you to a place where you're desiring something from us, meaning I'm offering you something that I know is helpful for you. And for me, that is what we call a roundtable. And so my DM is not, hey, hi, nice to meet you, buy my stuff. It's, hey, I'd love to connect you with some other people that I know you need to know. And most people will say yes to that faster than they'll say yes to all of the other pitches. That means you got to do a little bit more work sometimes. So I'm like going to look and see, okay, this is the kind of work that they do. And I know this person who is probably their ideal client. Let me see if I can bring them together because now I'm a resource for you. And if I'm a resource, then you're going to come back to me when you need what I have to offer as well. So there's a little bit of a process in it, but the DMs for us are designed to bring people to something that they absolutely want. And we're just facilitating that for them so that when they need what we have to offer, they're ready for us.
I love that. I love that. I love the way that you do this. Now, so there's the business owner's task list is never ending, right? So I will always say, if you're looking for revenue, you want to make more money, your focus should be on sales, nothing else, not even marketing. My one true love, right?
Yeah.
What would you say if I need more sales right now? Do you have some daily tasks that you would be like, I would not go throughout my day not doing these things?
Yeah.
What would it be?
For sure. We call them the profit producing activities. I have a whole, it's like there is a list of things that need to be done on a daily basis and 90 minutes minimum of whether it's outreach, whether it's the follow up we're talking about, inviting people to some of these like roundtable conversations, one to one conversations, discovery sessions, needs assessment conversations. It's all about getting more people to, again, to talk back to us so we can have those conversations and take them into that next place where we're actually now talking about what they ultimately need. So daily, whether it's on social, the output is not designed for me to just look cute on social. It's like, how can I get someone to talk back to me? I'm reaching out to them via DM, via text message, via email, whatever that is. It's like, how can I get people to talk back to me? And so we have a 90-minute block of nothing but profit producing activities. And some of that might be outreach, might be putting social out, it might be doing something like this, a podcast or something along those lines to get my voice out in front of more people. But at the end of the day, if I'm not getting people to talk back to me, then I'm losing.
Amen. And so you're saying 90 minutes a day on these profit producing activities. That is time left on your calendar. And honestly, you guys will just get better as you do this. And I cannot agree with Tish more. Like,
Absolutely.
as a founder, as a owner of a company, you should be spending 75% of your time sales anyway. Like, this is what your job is.
Absolutely.
Relationships, knowing people, podcasting, doing all of this.
All of it. Exactly. I personally, I love, we got away from a lot of live events in 2020, but I love live events because it's probably one of the places I can gather more people and get in front of them and have those kind of conversations that lead to that next step in the relationship. So that's part of my profit producing activities as well. It might be going to an event where I'm speaking. They might be, if it's very intentional, going to a networking event. I don't go to all the networking events, but if it's a networking event that's very intentional, that's already gathered my ideal clients, and I know that they're going to be there. And I've done some pre-work to get some appointments on the calendar so I can do maybe a coffee before the event or a lunch afterwards or something like that. Those are also really important.
Yeah. Okay. I love that. I want to go to mindset. So, can you just, as we've mentioned, right? Like, most of the sales thing is a mindset thing. What is one actionable item that we can do to start improving our sales mindset? Do you have something?
Yeah. And it's interesting because it's a little bit, it might be a little bit different than what people may traditionally do. But when I say, Lindsay, this was probably the biggest roadblock for me. And I still fight it on a regular basis, by the way. It's not something that I can say, woo, I've won and I don't ever deal with this. Mindset is something that I think tried to take me out early in the game. And so I have this big old board. It's called my I am board. And I sometimes have to remind myself of the things I'm not currently feeling. So I may be feeling less than confident. So I have to remind myself I am confident. I am a spiritual woman. I'm a woman of faith. And so I will often go in and remind myself, okay, what is it that God has said about me compared to what I'm saying to myself right now? What do I need to be most reminded of right now before I get onto this call? And then in addition to that, I think about that person and I have a name for them. I create avatars. And so even though I may not be speaking to that person right now, I normally will speak to them as though I'm talking to introvert Irene, which is one of my avatars. And I know that introvert Irene struggles with sales. She has an amazing product, a phenomenal service, but she really struggles with sales conversations. So when I'm getting ready to get on the call, my mind, I'm like, I got to go help Irene. Irene, absent of me being able to help her do this, she may not be able to stay in business, right? She may not be able to get to the point in revenue that's going to take her to that next level. Even though I'm nervous right now, even though I may feel like I might be really insecure, I'm showing up for Irene, and that sometimes shifts my life, believe it.
I do believe it, actually. Yeah, very much. So I think it goes back to there. I'm so happy to, it's cool that you call it the I am board. There is true power behind the words I am, what you truly believe about yourself. And even saying these things out loud, I am fill in the blank.
Yes.
It is like how you're programming who you are. So watch out with anything you put after that if it is not like for your benefit.
Yeah, for sure. Mine is like a science project board. It's huge and it's been developing over the years. So the things I find that if I'm feeling opposite, I go and I put it on the board. And then I'll stand in front of that board sometimes 5 or 10 minutes before I jump on a call just to remind myself that I am more than equipped. I'm qualified to serve. I have the goods, right? I have what it takes to help them. I have the solution this person needs. And I remind myself of those things. And then I think about the person that I'm showing up for. And it really does make a huge
Don't have to do that being as highly skilled at sales as you are. That's
Oh,
how much this mindset stuff can screw you
oh,
up.
for sure. For sure. That's what I said. I'm not one to say, I used to do this and I've conquered it. No,
It is a cross battle with your mind.
it absolutely is. Absolutely is. Yeah. Figure out what you need. I'm talking to your audience now. Figure out what you need to do and do it and show up for the people who are looking for you. There's someone Googling you right now. They don't even know you exist, but you're there and they need to find you. So you got to do the things that are necessary for you to be able to show up powerfully for them because they need you desperately.
I love that, Tish. Okay. I can't leave this conversation without asking you this question, but I think it's going to be annoying, but I'm still going to ask you. Are you ready?
Yes.
Yes. What do I do when they say, I don't have the money? What's my next line?
I will literally give them a really short response. I'll say more.
There you go, you guys, right
Say
there.
more. Tell me more. Because I could probably, I don't know how many people have started that conversation by saying, I don't have the money. And all the others, I can't afford, I can't do it right now. My kids are in school, all the other things.
Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but all the excuses.
And so when I get them to talk to me a little bit more about what's really going on, and I can get to the real issue because it's always more than what they're saying. They normally will talk themselves right into it. They'll be able to see, and we always know that people will find the money for whatever they really want. What they really want. Not always what they need, believe it or not, but what they really want. They'll find the money for that thing. My mentor of many years always said, we buy our wants and beg our needs. And so it's if we really want it, we'll figure out a way to get there. And so I'm trying to get to what is it that you ultimately want? And then helping them to arrive there. And if their desire for transformation is bigger than the current obstacle that they have in their mind, we can help them to get there together. Never going to force someone or try to convince someone to do something that I ultimately think it's not the right time for them. But it's interesting how when you get someone to share a little bit more about what's really going on, you can get past the obvious obstacle to the place of us finding a solution and finding a way for them to get there.
That's a great tip. Yeah, I always call it view the unseen. You got to get to the unseen problem. Everyone has these pre-programmed. I tell every salesperson I can't afford it. That's just what I do. And you've got to beyond their gut. I'm protecting myself and don't have to buy from you response and get
Yeah,
to something in order for them to close.
for sure. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, let's talk about the future of sales. So you mentioned that you've been in sales a long time. You took a lot of the classical ones, and now you've come into more of like your own and sales as a service. What do you see for the future of sales?
I think we have to, starting right now, we just have to be more creative. We have to see things differently. As we well know, the world is changing with AI coming on. There's so many things that are happening in the world as it stands right now that I'm beautifully challenged by those things because it just causes me to dig a little bit deeper, to be a little more creative. And I think as sales professionals, we're just going to have to be more more heart-centered, but also more skilled at the way that we approach the world of sales. Because as I said, specifically with LinkedIn, for instance, if you're doing what everyone else is doing, you're going to get lumped in with everyone else and you're not going to be able to survive. But if you're willing to do a little more work, to be a little more, put a little more effort into the way that you're wanting to sell, you can stand out and craft your own path. And so that's where I'm looking right now. It's like, where's the new path that we're going to need to be able to go on in order to really serve at a high level and have tremendous success and stand apart from the crowd? Right.
Yeah, you're gonna have to do that, and I think these one-on-one conversations is how that's how it's gonna happen for you because 'cause you're gonna learn more about your customers, that's gonna flow into your marketing. You've gotta start talking to people.
Yes, so true, so true. I think for people that are a little bit more reserved, that's something. It's get creative in the way that you communicate. You don't have to do it the way I do it or the way other people do it, but you got to find a way to, like you said, get in front of more of the right people and communicate in a way that is authentic to you, but it also gets those people that need you the most. You're able to gather them to you so that you can have the conversations that will lead to being able to solve their problems.
I love that, Tish. Now, this last couple of times we've talked, you have a really great way of explaining to people that just because you're running your own business, okay, like you wouldn't treat yourself this way if you were the boss. I didn't do it justice, but it's hello as far as becoming that kind of person who likes sales and what your take is there.
Yeah. So it's interesting because I had to learn this lesson the hard way. In addition to loving running my business and working with people in the world of sales, I'm also a really good cook. And so what was interesting is I would find myself in the middle of the day stopping what I was doing once I started my own business to go throw something in the oven. And there's no shade about that, right? There's people you can work your day however you want to, but for me, it was a distraction. When things were getting hard, I would go do something that was really fun and easy to read. And so I had to stop and tell myself, now, if I was working for XYZ company that I used to work for, would they let you get away with this? Just like having a half an hour, 25, 30 minutes in the middle of your day, not your lunch hour, and just throwing a pot roast in the oven and checking on your green beans or whatever. No, you're not going to be able to get away with this. So why would you give your previous employer more respect than you would give your current business? And if you were the CEO of you, which you are, would you fire you if you weren't really taking this position seriously? And so I think as business owners, whether it's in sales, whatever you're doing, we have to learn to give our businesses the same or more respect than we gave to our prior employers in order to be able to be successful at what we're doing. Because I know for me, I wasn't giving myself the amount of time, the amount of focus and commitment that I was giving to my previous employer, and I was doing my business a tremendous disservice.
I love that. I just love the way you worded it. I won't even add anything. It's true. Like you have to be self-disciplined for this thing. Just because you run your own business, it doesn't grant you not being having to do the work. You have to do stuff you don't want to do. It's just facts.
Yep, no doubt about it. You better do it. And the thing is, in sales, the biggest way for us to determine if we're successful is by looking at our metrics, right? Looking at our numbers. And at the end of the day, if we're not performing at the level we need to, it's going to show up in our numbers. And so that's a good indication that we're probably not doing the work. And it's a great opportunity to start doing things a little bit different.
So start looking at your day. I love that, Tish. Thank you. Okay. Tish, before I let you go, I'm going to turn the time back over to you. Let the audience know anything else you want them to know and how to find out more information about you.
Absolutely. As I said, I'm going to send it to you, Lindsay. I know I didn't send it to you yet, but I'll send you the link for the flawless follow-up formula. It's customizable. Obviously, it's a template, so it's designed for any company, but you're going to look at it and maybe make some shifts and say, okay, our business requires these certain things. It's very customizable for you. So I'd love for you to grab that and utilize it. And then I'd love to hear how you're utilizing it. And if you'd like to reach me, I'm Tish Times on all the social media platforms. And my website is tishtimes.com.
Thank you, Tish. What a pleasure having you on the show today.
Thank you. So glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to The Millionaire Maker Show with online business consultant and creator of the Millionaire Maker Funnel, Lindsey Anderson. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. Until next time.